block size method number one. What we're trying to figure out here is the progression in the most significant octet, and we're going to do it based on binary values. So I'm a big fan of using block size method number one when I am presented with my subnet mask in slash notation, because slash notation is ultimately telling me the number of binary values I have within the subnet mask, how many binary ones we have. So I have 8 here, I have 8 here, and then I have 7 over here, and I have 0 over here. So that's ultimately what it's telling me. 8, 8, 7, 0. That's what 23 is telling me. So as a result of that, I can easily figure out my block size now. So the block size in this case, what we're doing is we are finding the very last one. So there's our very last one right here. There it is. So now that I found the very last one, what is the decimal value of that one? And you don't have to do any addition, subtraction, multiplication, powers of 2, nothing here, folks. You just have to know what that particular value is. So down at the bottom here, you can see I put 128, 64, 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, and 1. Those are the decimal values of our binary bit positions. So this value here would have a value of 128. This one would have a value of 64. This one would have a value of 32, 16, 8, 4. Look at that. 2. So the value is 2 in this case. So with that in mind, we have our block size. That's right. The block size is 2. It's 2. We're counting by 2. Now, what octet are we in? Well, if I double check on that, there's the first octet. Here's our second octet. Here's our third octet. All right, so I'm in the third octet here. So I'm counting by 2 in the third. Counting by 2 in the third octet. Starting off with our original address. You always go back to the original address. So we had 172.16.00/16. Now we're 172.16.00/32. That's first subnet. And then what do we have? Count by 2. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28. And put a whole bunch of /32 or 23s at the end of them. And you have all your subnet IDs. It's as easy as that. So why don't we do another example together? Let's do another example. So we're going to go ahead and use the 172 in this case, .16.0.0/16 network again. Because we're familiar with it right now. So let's just stick with that. So 172.16.0.0/16. And let's go ahead now and make it a what? /24. Okay. So let's make it a /24 instead. So what I did is I subnetted it down to /24. So since it's a /24, I borrowed 8 bits. 2 to the power of 8 is 256. So we created 256 subnets, meaning that there's 8 bits left over. 32 minus 24. 32 minus 24 is going to give me 8 as well. So 2 to the power of 8 host bits minus 2 is 254 hosts. So 256 subnets, each supporting 254 hosts. That's what I'm ending up with here. 256 subnets, each supporting 254 hosts. So what do I want to do now with this particular scenario? I want to figure out what the subnet IDs are for my new subnets. Remember, I said we just created 256 of them. 256. So how do we do that? Well, I gave you a /24. So we know we have 8 bits in the first octet for the subnet mask, 8 bits in the second octet for the subnet mask, and then we'd have 8 in the third. 8 in the third, and then none in the fourth. So this is what I like to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, dot, and then none in the third. Now, why did I do this? It's so I can ultimately figure out where the last one is. So where is the very last one in this particular subnet mask? Where is it? Yeah, it's in right here, the third octet. So I know I'm in the third octet again here. Third octet. But But now what we need to figure out is, what is the value of this binary 1? Well, we'd have 128, 64, 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, and 1. 1. It's got a value of 1. So I'm counting by 1 in the third octet. Counting by 1 in the very third octet. All right. Counting by 1 in the third octet. So what does that mean now? We go back to our original address, which is 172.16.00 slash what now? Well, it's going to be 172.16.00. What's our new subnet mask? 24. So there's our first subnet. That's subnet number 1. Now, subnet number 2 is going to be 172.16 as well, because that's what we originally started with. But we said we're counting by 1 in the third octet. So that means the next one's going to be 1. And then the next one's going to be 2. The next one's going to be 3. The next one's going to be 4. The next one's going to be 5. So I can just put 0/24. 0/24. 0/24. 0/24. 0/24. Etc. Right? How many subnets did we say we created? We said we created 256 of them, counting by 1s in the third octet. So now I know each of my subnet IDs. And since I know my subnet IDs, I can now figure out what is the broadcast addresses, the directed broadcast address, and I can also figure out the usable addresses in between.